What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn to Us Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had a great week in golf, I would consider. FedEx St. Jude, Justin Rose pulling out the win in the playoff. Thoughts, comments, concerns, issues on the week?
That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. I will say, much like every other feature in golf, my God, I feel so bad for Tommy Fleetwood. I think he is unfortunately turning into the Europe's version of Patrick Cantlay, where he comes out of the gate firing, and just seems to not be able to close. I mean, he played some really good golf down the stretch, but um, his decision making was awful. And he talked about at the end, he goes, they said, what do you regret doing or what do you regret not doing? And he listed off four or five things that were just perfect. He goes, I can't really change the shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I mean, he just hit some real dumb shots, decisions, etc. High versus low. It was weird.
Yep.
And I think that that's happened more than once. Take a look, like even back to the RBC Canadian last year, hitting that iron on that playoff where he's giving himself a 4 iron up there and does two instead of a. It's just there's some decisions that I think he plays it safe to not make a mistake versus going for it.
Yep.
And enough about him because I do want to see him win, and I think honestly this may be a good week for him again. But it was a good showing. Justin Rose really needed a strong performance, and he did it. JJ Spawn, who I know I will have to toot my own horn here. I said, please pick JJ Spawn. He is not flashy. He is average everywhere, and it will pay off this week. And if you took at him, I know we're going to get into it here in a little bit, but I had him 50-1. I was screaming. But then you had Scotty, you had Cam Young, who I said was going to play well here. He was in like dead last after round one or something like that. I go, oh shoot. You had Ricky Fowler, who kind of scammingly got his way into the FedEx Cup playoffs. It was just a really good week. I think the only really bad spot, if you can call it, for me was I don't believe the point system did Jordan Spieth justice. And what I mean by that is he played well enough to do really well. I think there's some guys that are less deserving because, I mean, let's just call a spade here. Brian Campbell won basically an elevated Corn Ferry event and got in. Now he's not in the top. Now he's not. He's no longer here. He's
Yep.
not dead. Sorry, he's not dead. He's just no
No,
longer
yeah,
in the
yeah. He's
FedEx.
out. He's
But
out of the playoffs. It's a good, yeah.
it's just you pay so much to these events. So I think there will be a reworking of that. But other than that, I mean, it was awesome week. I love competitive golf as much as last thing, because I'll ramble forever. As much as I hate the format of what the playoffs are doing. It's like the seventh change in 7 years, but like I physically hate it. I do think that down the stretch, in the next two events, every shot will matter. And I think for a lot of the guys that were on the, like if you watch Sunday coverage the last bunch of hours, they had FedEx Cup marker 51, 49, etc. And Chris Kirk's shots mattered. So like that was exciting.
I think that was probably my most enjoyable portion of watching golf all week was the fact that the coverage showed both the leaders in themselves that were going to win the golf tournament, as well as the golfers who were fighting for the top 50. That may have made it some of the best coverage outside of like majors, in my opinion, all year. So I'm all on board that. I wish that there was a way they could implement that more like on a week to week basis where they would show more shots than just the top like five guys. But I know it's not necessarily practical. So it is what it is. All right, with that, I'll go through some of the notes real quick. Winner, obviously Justin Rose. Notable guys to miss the cut, no cut, didn't matter. Some of the low-priced options that we were all over. Justin Rose first, JJ Spawn second, Kurt Kitayama T9, Aaron Rye T22. Any others that I missed that you didn't throw in the board or no?
I just laughing. Who missed the cut? No one, no cut.
I mean, that's what I have on my list. I always
What
have
was
a
your
tab. It's
question?
like notable guys to miss the cut. NA,
Um,
no cut this week.
no, I think that there are a lot of guys. Like I liked Brian Harmon this week. Again, I picked if you look at my guy outside of Victor Hovland, I don't know what the heck happened to him. It
Yeah.
was I picked very boring people. For me, I love boring golf. I've talked about it for years. Like I think Patrick Cantlay's golf game is exciting. I am in the 0.01% of that opinion.
Yes, you are.
I think just the way I see golf. But like Brian Harmon did really well, JJ Spawn did really well, Patrick Cantlay did really well. So I think they're obviously Patrick Cantlay's not a smaller guy, but I think just not to toot your horn, but you had Justin Rose in so many places this week, except for winners, which is
Yep.
unfortunate.
Yep.
But I
Yeah, of
think you were
course.
really high on him and the way he was playing and coming into it. And also Ben Griffin, who finished T9, even though 2 weeks ago I don't think you would have touched him with a hamburger pole. So um, it's
Yeah.
just an awesome week. I think it's cool that every shot matters, but I'll stop
Yeah.
talking.
The only miss that we really had was I liked Chris Goddard up, not a ton, but I thought he'd be solid, and he finished T54. So we'll see on that one. But beyond that, let's get into DraftKings and FanDuel. As you highlighted, I did have Rose everywhere, but we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, my lineups were, I would say, okay around the most part. For those of you who are just new, we do single entries and double ups. Double ups, we scratched 48th and 46th place out of 100, which is still a victory. Um,
Nice.
Single entries were nada, so just like a little in the red. Corey Connors didn't do us well. Victor Hovland didn't necessarily do us well. Sam Burns did not do, or at least myself, well. So, I mean, it was reliant on Spawn and Brian Harmon in DraftKings and Brian Harmon and Russell Henley in FanDuel. So, um, we did fine, but you'd be surprised how many people, it was weird how many people had
Yeah.
Justin Rose. Like I,
Oh, yeah.
I was looking through on Sunday, I'm like, oh my God, the top 45 people have Justin Rose. Like it was just weird to me. So they must have seen something that I did not.
No, and that was where I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, I thought I was in some sort of like a minority on Justin Rose last week. Evidently, everybody else liked them too. I don't know. Maybe they heard it from somebody else who also highlighted Justin Rose. But I was like, who's sitting there at $6,900 on DraftKings that people are going to be all over? Not Justin Rose. There's no chance. No, my DraftKings was fine. I did win in double ups. I would think I just missed out on single entries. I was close. But I had Rose, who was first, Ben Griffin, T9, Justin Thomas, 28th, Fitzpatrick, T32, Nick Taylor, 44, Goddard up 54th. So basically kind of scattered from first to like 55th. Nothing fancy. How'd your draft or how'd your FanDuel go?
I sorry, I went over both of them. I'm sorry.
Oh, got it. All right. I didn't even notice. Oh yeah, because your lineups were basically the exact same. That's right.
Yeah.
For my FanDuel, it was a lot of the same lineup, but I changed a couple of guys. I had Scotty T3, Russell Henley T17. Hovland finished T32. I think he was +5 on Thursday. So like in reality, finishing T32 from his where he was is not awful. But again, you would like him not to ideally shoot 4 or 5 over on Thursday to shoot himself into that position. Ben Griffin T9, Rose first, and then Emiliano Grillo was T50. So again, another solid week, nothing fancy. Bets, how did you do this past week?
Not great. We went 2-4, which is one of my worst weeks since like March,
Yeah.
where I was really low. I will preface before you turn off from hearing 2-4, I'm still up 39.35 units on the year, which is my worst performance in the 3 years of this podcast by 40 units going into this week. So I want you to know that 40x your money is the worst year that I've had in 3 years. So stick with me now.
I would say
Um,
you still got 2 weeks to make it up for him. You know, you can get crazy and bet like
yeah.
30
Oh
units a
yeah,
piece.
sure. Um, I went really safe this week, and Victor Hovland, I thought was going to have the week that Tommy Fleetwood did, just with his pure ball striking. I don't know what the heck happened to him. I had him T22, and I think he finished 32. I had Burns T23, I think he finished 28. Cantlay top 21. For those of you who like wondering about the random things, Bet365 has finishing position, so you could do like X or better. Um, I one on Cantlay. Spieth top 30. I thought he should have done that. He played well enough to, but just wasn't converting. I had Corey Connors top 30, who did not do well. He finished, I want to say, right around there. And then Brian Harmon top 30 was a win. So minus 2.37 units, which is the worst by a long shot. Still 39.35 up.
Yeah, not bad. All things considered. For me on my end, I had 7 bets. I won 4. I lost 3. I went up 1.04 units on the week, so I'm basically just up 1.4 units. Nothing too fancy. I didn't calculate that, but what's 1.04? 21.49 units now is what I'm up on the year. My wins were Ben Griffin over Keegan Bradley, Aaron Rye over Maverick McNeely, Xander top 20 round one, who I think finished at T20, and then Scotty top 10 in round one, who also I think finished top 10, like 10th exactly. So those 4 wins were a little hairy, but made them work. My losses were Goddard over Straka, JT over Love to Go Bear, and then Corey Connors over Sam Burns. I threw in late, and now I'm mad because obviously Corey Connors didn't do well. Live and learn, but it happens. So yeah, Jack, wild card, how'd you do?
Well, not good. I had Xander to beat Scotty at plus 350. I talked about it's again, hindsight was a beautiful thing, but I talked about over the week that Xander is so complete and that event should have really spoken to him, and he really did not play well. That was actually very scary to see more than anything because I think Xander Schauffele is complete. Um, and if you're giving me 3.5 to 1 odds for an event that Scotty had no business, he didn't need a single point, and he wouldn't have moved in the FedEx Cup rankings. I think he was just going to go out there and play, and he did not perform on Sunday. I thought Xander could have come in and stole that, or at least been competitive. It was not competitive from basically the time they said, now introducing from Texas, Scotty Scheffler. Um, so we missed out on that one.
Yeah, I get it. My Scotty top 40 bet at minus 6,600 would have hit. Just so you know. But I took Emiliano Grillo, top 20 at plus 260. That was a loss. Putter didn't really perform for him. He just kind of meandered along. I think he was like T48 or T50 or whatever he was. So nothing fancy, but that was a loss. So I'm now 16 and 24 on wild cards this year. So 16 wins, 24 losses. Sorry, I'll clarify. Winners, how'd you do last week?
Well, I always say Victor Hovland 30 to 1 did not pay out. Sam Burns 35 to 1 did not pay out. JJ Spawn 50 to 1 was 2 inches away on 2 playoff putts from being a major cash. And um, funny enough, like for the record, I'm drinking a Yingling. For those of you who don't know, it's a little more, I don't say expensive beer, but like compared to like a Miller Lite, it's a little more expensive. As soon as they went to playoff, I ran out. I got some Yingling. I go, he's winning this playoff. Justin Rose has been missing with his driver, and he did multiple times. Turns out that's a no. But I was very happy with that. If I can come close every single week with a 50 to 1, I'm playing. And for those of you who don't know, I don't really bet winners. I take the guys, I bet them obviously to win because I'm a degenerate, but I play them mostly on like top fives. And so that one paid out nice.
Yeah, if any YouTube moderators are around, Jack's drinking some good apple juice right now. That's for sure.
Oh,
Some
you're not
great.
allowed to do that on YouTube?
No, I mean, I don't think anybody cares, but just
Oh,
it's great apple juice. No, my winners this past week, I had Scotty at 2 and 3/4 to 1 or 2.75, finished third. Aaron Rye 33 to 1, finished T22, and then Ben Griffin at 40 to 1, finished T9. Realistically, I would have bet Rye and Griffin top 20, so it would have been a little bit better than that. But anyways, that is the FedEx St. Jude Championship. We are going to move on to the BMW Championship. This is at Caves Valley in Maryland. I have this as a par 71, totaling 7,200 yards. Let me know if that's incorrect. This looks like it's last week's data. But this is updated. This course, Caves Valley, has not been played since on the PGA Tour since 2021. That means that any course history or strokes gained numbers will basically be from other courses, which is going to make it tough this week to pick guys who are differentials. Most of the data you're going to be looking at is just going to be guys in good form, guys that kind of fit the course model. Don't look at previous BMW history. I think last year was in Olympia Fields, right?
yes.
Yeah. So don't look at last year's BMW history. It's not going to help you, but that's good to know. In 2021, though, Patrick Cantlay did win here at 27 under par, which is just absolutely ridiculous for considering this is the playoffs. There is water in play on a handful of holes, but most of the water isn't really in play enough for these guys to really have any effect on them. You have to miss quite bad for that to come into play. Same thing when it comes to trees. Like there's trees that like quote unquote line the fairway, but they don't really get in the way unless you miss the fairway by like 30 yards. So I don't think anything's really going to affect these guys too much on that front. So all in all, you want to look for birdie makers and golfers that basically crush the ball off the tee this week when you're looking at the data. Beyond that, let's get right into it, Jack. I don't have too much else. So let's just cruise along. In the 10K plus range, we have a lot of golfers. We have Scotty Scheffler at 13,400, down to Justin Thomas at 10,000. Thoughts on this range?
Yeah, for the first time and possibly the entire year, I say it's okay to get to Scotty Scheffler in a DFS lineup. This is going to be not as much of a birdie fest as it was to when Liam did his readout. They narrowed a lot of greens, added additional rough around the greens, narrowed the fairways. It's supposed to be really deep, so they're playing a lot, but it's still a relatively easy course. And they are going to actually, they even came out with a conference. This is how degenerate I am in the golf scene. They are going to try to put the 4 toughest pin positions in the firmest spots on the green. So do with that with what you please, but I think this will still be a really long par 72 in terms of everything. So I'm thinking you're looking for a guy that's able to score throughout the entire game, long off the tee, but also accurate. Scotty Scheffler fits the mold. As long as he gets on the green with the putter the way he's been doing the entire year, um, I, I just think it's ridiculous. It's 13,400, but he has turned into a machine since he's got the mallet, let me tell you.
My only concern on Scotty is he's obviously the best player in this field. If Ted Scott is not on his bag this week, does that have any effect for you?
Yes, but no.
Okay. I mean, for me, I don't think I go to him if Ted Scott's not on the bag. I think that like he might
It's
not
not
win
going to
there. He might
be
finish more like seventh or eighth.
the thing about the player caddy relationship is um, it's not about what it does to the player, it's about the quality of decision.
Okay.
Because let's say you and I go play around a golf. I know what I want to do, right? You know what you want to do, but you're studying my game. So you know everything about what I want to do and go into it.
Yeah.
But you say, hey, we should do this to be safe. We should do this to maximize our goal. But as a golfer, I say, I can make this shot. And your job is to say, no, you can't. Or adversely, you have to go for it. So there's different things like a lot of replacement caddies, they just don't have the voice or the relationship to say, hey, number one player in the world that's won 6 times or 7 times this year, don't do that. And that's where the bridge is, but in terms of like mess ups, it's not going to be that much of an impact. Um, but I truly think he has an opportunity to come out and blow us out of the water like he's done a number of times this year. I think Rory McIlroy is also a really interesting pick. He's not played golf for basically a month and has 3 top 10s to his name after we said he has not played well. So he's coming into it fresh. He's coming into it really well. I think the way he was driving the golf ball was a little rough, but then he figured it out, and it's a good patch for him. And his ball striking has looked really firm in the last 3 times.
Great.
And then I do think that Patrick Cantlay and Justin Thomas are going to do fine, but I do think it is a good bounce back week to go back to Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood is third in scoring average. I think a lot of people forget that he's third in scoring average. He was finished third at St. Jude in Open Championship 16, second in Travelers, 16th at Memorial, fourth at Charles Schwab, fourth at Truist, seventh at RBC Heritage. This guy has been on leaderboard pages for a long time. I truly looked when I was watching his interview in his eyes, he was pissed. He was angry. He was sad. He was every single emotion. But he's talked about, I have so many good things I can take from this and build into next week. And I think this course suits his model so much more than last week that if he's able to take 19% confidence coming into it, I think 10,400 is a very reasonable price for this low of a field.
That is my challenge though, is that like even on Sunday last week while he was on the course, he just looked tensed up. Like you could see his shoulders were like above his ears at certain points. He was so like,
Well,
I don't know what to do. I'm in the lead.
he's he just I think he has what I call and I'm an amateur golfer for the records for everybody, but I call it the amateur golf thing, where you go into it and go, I've sliced my driver. I'm going to take my fairway, or he has a mini driver. I'm going to take my mini driver and play it safe. Well, you haven't hit your mini driver well at all, and you've hit it twice. So you're taking away this. And now he's thinking about he's trying to make these decisions. He talked about it. He missed the fairway on three mini drivers, which are really relatively wide open spots. So I just think he's in his head a little bit more than he should because he is, in my opinion, probably in the top six of the golfers in the world right now. So
I just don't like betting on a guy this week who's so in his head like Tommy Fleetwood might be after that tournament. There's a chance he'll do fine, but I
but
think you
when
could
you can
also
look
go
at
to
it, he's
Rory or
done it
Xander and they'll be fine.
so many times. And you can take a look at even Sam Burns, missed playoff, Ryan Fox, missed playoff again, and then comes out. He's been firing the entire year. The problem with Xander Schauffele, because you know me, I will mention him every single time I physically can.
His
Was the only
putter.
time he's really done well this year, and I say well relatively, was it like Genesis Scottish Open, Open Championship, US Open. Outside of, or like the majors.
Yeah.
Outside of that, basically since May, he's really just done mediocre. And he needs, I think, it's like a solo 20th or 21st to even move on. He is not high in the FedEx Cup rankings. So I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. He did have an automatic bid into the Ryder Cup with the points last week. So I don't know what he's going for. So I'm scared actually. And I don't think he plays well in the events that get to 28 under or 25 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, and then we can move on to the 9K range because these are all like relatively good options. I'm very high on Rory. I think this course fits him well. I think he's probably my 1A, maybe 1B to Scotty in this range, but I'm very comfortable if you just want to start with Rory. Xander has lost strokes gained putting in four of his last five starts. He obviously is seeming like he's gonna be fine, but I don't know if he's got the upside as if he's been winning golf tournaments for the last few months. So I don't know if I'd love getting the Xander this week. And then you mentioned Fleetwood. I'm personally just fading because I don't like what I see in terms of the dynamic of it all after this past week, and that is more so a personal uh, gut feeling, as you like as we jokingly like to say. But I will stay away from Fleetwood. Give me Rory. Give me Scotty. Give me Cantlay or O'Bear probably over Fleetwood at this point. So, all right, on to the 9K range we go. We got Cam Young at 9,800 down to Seb Straka just withdrew actually today, so he's not there at 9,000. But
Yeah.
Ben Griffin 9,100.
Best wishes to Sepp Straka and his family. That's not a good sign, especially for a guy that's number five.
Yeah,
I will start with a couple guys. One is Sam Burns. I think that he is one of the guys that's going to be very under-owned this week. And what I mean by that is, again, a lot of what we're talking about, we give like generic facts on if we think a guy's doing well. Right now, we're doing DFS. So your lineups, your DraftKings, your FanDuel, just for everybody in case you're new for the playoffs. You take a look and you open Sam Burns and you click him. A lot of people are going, what's his form looking like? I haven't really watched what's his form looking like unless you're in like a $10,000 contest. And you see 47, 45, 61, 28. And you go, oh, I'm not taking Sam Burns. Well, the reality of it is at the 3M Open and the Open Championship, he lost with the putter, which he hasn't done in 23 of his last 25 events. Those are the two. You take a look. Last week, off the tee, he had his worst start off the tee since Valero, which is April 6th. He had his worst putting performance last week since, oh yeah, not even in the top 50 of his last performances. So he's just off kilter. Sorry, at the 3M Open is what I meant to say. But at the St. Jude last week, plus 1.55 around at the putter, which is his fourth best in the entire year. So the putter looked really good. He puts really well in these firm conditions, really well. Take a look at the US Open, seventh, RBC second, Byron Nelson fifth, PGA 19th. He puts really, really well. Approach, one of his best approach, he's like second or third best approach play week in the last like 4 months. Off the tee, he was not great, but I think this one should play a little better to him. He was his worst accuracy performance in his last 21 events. So you're coming into that, and he still finished top 30. That's building momentum. So I really like that. Outside of that, I think this is going to be a really, really good week for JJ Spawn. Probably the same mindset that you're taking to Tommy Fleetwood, which I understand if you wanted to avoid him. But that guy, he lost strokes at the putter, but his putter was on. Like if you really watched 4 days of coverage, I only watched three because I was busy one day. he was electric with the putter. He was on it the entire time. He was grazing edges. He was right there. His speed was really good. Off the tee and his approach game were off the chart. He gained almost 4 shots around. That is ridiculous. So you're coming into it where a guy in his last 5 events has win 14, missed cut in Scotland, 23, and then runner up with the performance he had. And I still think he should have won last week. He's going to be electric this week. I love him. I know there's 6 guys in this category I could talk about, but just really quickly, Russell Henley, basically since the PGA is a new golfer, 5, 10, 2, 10, and 17 in his last little bit. He is as accurate as they come. So you can kind of fly a poll on him any day of the week now. It seems like that. I'll go really
Yeah.
quickly. Cam Young is another one. 5th last week. He was really good with the putter again, but off the tee, he was a menace, which led to his approach numbers being super elevated compared to what his past been. Like his best approach play prior to last week was at the Truist in May, and that was not even half of how good he was, to think about that and put that in perspective. So I liked it. And then last guy, and I'll let Liam talk because my head hurts. I think this is going to be a really good week for Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin, really good with the putter, really good around the green, really good on approach. Second worst off the tee performance since May. And he was still gaining. He gained, and he had the second worst off the tee performance since May. So you're having 4 positive rounds, 4 rounds that you're gaining every single metric that's statistically recorded, which is really good. I think this is going to be a really, really solid week for him. And you're giving me 9,100 for a guy that's been in contention for like 14 golf tournaments this year. That's a solid marker. That's a really
Yeah.
solid marker.
All right. There was like 6 guys in this range. Jack just named 5 of them. So I guess I'll go quick. If you don't want to take Scotty or Rory, I think the winner of this golf tournament could straight up just be Cam Young. He's a bomber of the golf ball. He's making a ton of birdies. He's also got a lot to play for. He's fighting to play on the Ryder Cup team at Bethpage Black this year. He's got back-to-back top 5 finishes. He's also top 7 in the field in strokes gained total. So I'm very happy to go to Cam Young. There's Victor Hovland, who obviously played great for 3 of the 4 days at St. Jude, but he obviously played bad on Thursday, which shot him out of any chance to do well in the golf tournament. If you take away the +4 on Thursday and just give him an even par, he finishes top 20 in this tournament, which looks much more respectable than the T like 35 that he got. So I think he's going to be fine. He's a solid option to go to. And then Ben Griffin is second in strokes gained total over the past 36 rounds, only behind Scotty Scheffler. He finished T9 last week. He played great across the board, gained in all strokes gained metrics, in an arguably worse course for him than this week, which I think will set up for him quite well. So I think Ben Griffin and Cam Young are probably my top 2 options in this range. Cool. 8K range we go. We got Matt Fitzpatrick down to Sung J M. What you like?
Scary. Very scary range.
I agree.
I think this is going to be 2 guys pop off and finish top 15 and 2 guys fall in the bottom 15. I think a lot of people are going to be extremely high on Justin Rose, and rightfully so. He played really well, and his performances in Europe were spectacular. But before that, from the Masters on, he looked rough. 42nd, withdraw, cut, 44, cut, cut. For some reason, everything seemed to click for him. And I don't know if that's a swing change. I don't know if that's a mechanic change. I don't know what it is. He looked like he was playing very free and ended up winning. But you're looking for separators, right, at 8,600. You have Keegan Bradley, who's been a ball striking machine. You have Matt Fitzpatrick, who was on a heater. You have Corey Connors, who's a pure ball striker. Harris English, who can get to 9 under on any given day. You're looking for a lot of this. I would say, truthfully, this is a very scary category all throughout. If you're going to ask me to pick, I do think that Akshay Patia is a really good dart. His approach numbers have been spectacular the entire year, and he just had his best performance off the tee since Valero. So if you're giving him a position where you can have a really good off the tee week, the approach numbers are good. He did have a really poor putting week, which kind of took him out of the running for the tournament. He still finished 6th. I do think that it's a really good measurement going into the week. But other than that, you have a lot of flyers. Like Corey Connors has been a phenomenal ball striker the entire year, finished 50th last week. And of course, he should have dominated. So there's a lot of things that you can take away from this. 2 guys are going to finish 15th, two guys who can finish bottom 15th. The only guy I really, really like is Patia.
Yeah. No, I'm in a similar boat. Matt Fitzpatrick, I'll highlight him. He played good for 3 days, but he struggled on Friday and lost over 5 strokes gained off the tee with the driver. Now he's heading to an event where a driver is going to kind of be featured. And I think that honestly could spell disaster for Fitzpatrick, even though he's been playing pretty well getting into this event. Jack highlighted Akshay Bhatia. He shot 62 on Thursday, like the most quiet, easygoing 62 of all time that nobody highlighted. But I saw a lot of people on Twitter basically being like, "Oh, here comes the Akshay Bhatia fall off." I mean, he finished T6. He didn't really fall off that much. And so he's going to go to a spot now where any accuracy issues off the tee are not going to matter at Caves Valley. And the course is wide enough that he can spray it. He's got a good enough approach play. It's not going to matter otherwise. The other guy I'll mention is Hideki Matsuyama. He's gonna be a solid option, assuming he plays 4 rounds, because that's just the way Hideki rolls. He's had issues with the driver this year, but again, pretty open course, so it shouldn't be too bad of a spot for him if you want to go to Hideki. But outside of, again, I would go to Akshay, maybe go to Hideki. I wouldn't touch anybody else in this range. So sweet. All right, 7K range. We have Ricky Fowler at 7,900 down to Andrew Novak at 7,000.
Yeah, I'll start off by number one. It's a guy that literally no one in the world has been talking about. And I'm going to say he just had his second worst performance last week, basically since the CJ Cup at the beginning of May, and he finished 22nd. Second worst performance in 22nd. That guy's name is Harry Hall. Let me read you his last 10 starts. 22, 15, 28, 17, 13, 9, 24, 6, 19, 20. That's 9, but whatever. Just going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to leave it there. Outside of that, I think this is going to be a really good Taylor Pendrith week. Taylor Pendrith is one of those guys that, like I said about Harris English, can get to 7, 8, 9 under the entire time he has that in the bag. And basically, since I would say the Open Championship, he has looked a little bit off. His approach numbers have been low. His around the green has been low. His putter's been fine. But this guy's a bomber off the tee traditionally. And I think the last couple weeks he's tried to really play it safe. But you take a look at some stretches, especially when he dominated at the beginning of the year. He was firing on all cylinders. He has the ability to come out and finish with these top 20 performances. And I think you're giving me a guy at this low of a price that has the ability to go deep. I truly think it's an interesting spot. And I think he showed me enough last week to know that he can do it. It's about converting.
That's fair. For me in the 7K range, I like a couple of guys. Ricky Fowler, I love how he's been playing the last few weeks. He gained off the tee in 5 straight starts. He's also gained with the putter in 4 of his last 5 starts. He also gained over 4.5 strokes gained on approach at the St. Jude. He's fighting for a lot this week with him being outside of the top 30. So because he's got so much to play for and he's Ricky Fowler, I'm very comfortable getting him into my lineups. There is Siwoo Kim, who we'll highlight. Some people might like him on this course, but he's probably one of the worst putters in human history right now. He's lost strokes gained putting in 10 straight starts, including losing over 6 strokes gained putting last week at St. Jude. He's just a super strong fade because that guy can 3-putt from 4 feet at this point in time. We don't know what kind of putting Siwoo's done, but he's got to maybe get off the broomstick, go to a better putter. Last guy I'll mention who I like is Kurt Kitayama. He's gained in all strokes gained metrics in 4 straight starts. His ball striking is all the way back. It's the simplest way to put it. His putter's also been great. He's gained in 5 straight starts as there as well. I think he's a great option to contend in probably both of the next 2 weeks. But I think assuming he makes top 30 and he doesn't crumble, I think Kurt Kitayama is a very solid option in the low 7K range. So. All right, to the 6K range we go. We got Brian Harman at 6,900 down to Brian Campbell at 6,000.
I think this is scary. This is a group of guys that are obviously on the lower end of the top 50, which is that's not a bad place to be. But I mean, take a guy like Ryan Fox, who won twice in 4 events, had 4 other top 20s surrounding that, or maybe 3, and now he's missed 2 cuts of his last 4. The other 2 he can't even crack the top 50. So, or he did crack 50th, or whatever the situation is.
Yeah, he's 50th.
I think we go back. I think 2 guys may have a good week. One is JT Poston. JT Poston is a guy that can shoot 8 over and can shoot 8 under. At the same time, there's a reason he missed the cut at the John Deere Classic. That was the worst putting performance I may have ever seen out of him. That was awful. He lost over 2.5 shots around with the putter, which is ridiculous. Off the tee is usually really good. Approach play is usually pretty average, but his accuracy numbers are really what separates him. The last 2 weeks he finished 11th and 22, which are really good events to play well in. So I think going into it, there's a little bit of confidence. So I'm okay kind of taking that at what, 6,700. And then there's one guy that you think you have even mentioned a number of times in the last 3 years of doing this that plays well at these random long courses that are par 72s at Sam Stevens. Couldn't tell you why. Just decides to randomly pop off. He did not really play well last week, and that's because he had his third worst approach play of the entire year. Kind of a weird back-to-back for him, but off the tee, he looked really, really good. Some up, just those irons were just killing him for whatever reason. I think if he can find a way to just have somewhat of a decent iron game this week, I think he should have no problem cracking the top 25, which if you're in the bottom of the barrel here, you shouldn't be unhappy with.
St. Jude is tough. You've highlighted some guys that didn't play good last week. There's no like correlation between last week and this week. I think personally, I think St. Jude is just lined up so perfectly, like along the fairways that it's if you miss a fairway by a foot, you're in tough tree troubles. Here, you have a little more leeway on that. I am going to mention a couple guys. I don't love everybody here, but I have a few that I don't hate. Jacob Bridgman has been solid with the putter. He's gained in 5 of the last 6. He's also gained off the tee in 4 of his last 5. The approach play has been a bit all over the place, but he's one of the few that can still be decent here at this price point. Jack highlighted Ryan Fox. I actually think his golf game fits this course really well. He played awful last week, but it doesn't really show the whole story. I looked through the data. He played horrible on Thursday and Friday and was like supposed to finish dead last, but actually gained across the board in terms of strokes gained on the weekend. If his driver and approach play carries him this week, he's got a fighting chance to finish top 20 in this field, just based on how much this course lines up for him. And the last guy I'll mention is Johnny Vegas. Shout out to the Houston native. His setup here is actually very similar to Siwoo, where all portions of his game outside of his putter are on fire. But honestly, I like him a lot more than Siwoo, considering he's over $1,000 cheaper than him. He's also gained on approach in 6 straight starts. He's gained off the tee in 6 of his last 7 starts. So if you're sitting there, you're like, yeah, maybe I'll go like Siwoo or something like that. Just save yourself like the $1,200 and go down to Johnny Vegas, because there's a high likelihood he'll finish like T25, T30 this week, and you'll take that at basically stone min price. So, all right, with that, Jack, on to DraftKings. What's your lineup looking like this week?
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I don't love it, so don't play it. I'm literally saying do not play this because I do not know if it'll make money. Number one is Cam Young at 9,800. I think that he needs to put himself in a really good spot this week, and I think that he has the tools to do it. He's been playing really well. I have Russell Henley, who's 9,700. He has been a dog over the last just bunch of weeks. He's crazy. Sam Burns, 9,300. If he can just get himself on the green, he's going to play really well. I have Taylor Pendrith, 7,200. Denny McCarthy, 7,100. And JT Poston, 6,700. It is not pretty.
Yeah, it's I don't like mine much better, but I don't know if I like yours, admittedly, Jack. Mine is wild. I have Rory McIlroy 11,400, Cam Young at 9,800, Hideki Matsuyama at 8,800, Kurt Kitayama 7,600, Ryan Fox at 6,200, and Johnny Vegas at 6,100. It is gonna be an interesting week. FanDuel, do you have your lineup?
Yeah, I like it a lot better actually. So
Okay.
number one, Scotty Scheffler, 13,100. I think he's going to do just fine this week. I have JJ Spawn, 10,500. I have Sam Burns, 9,600. Russell Henley, 9,800. Sorry, out of order. I have Ben Griffin, 9,300. And Taylor Pendrith, 7,700.
There we go. For me, I have a very top-heavy lineup. I have Scotty Scheffler, 13,100, Rory McIlroy, 11,400, Justin Thomas, 11,000, who we didn't really highlight, but again, he can miss off the tee here and still be okay. Cam Young, 10,200, Ryan Fox, 7,000, Johnny Vegas at 7,000. So we will see on that one. On to bets. How many you got this week?
I think we got niner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we got 9, and only 3 of them are plus money. So take it with a grain of salt. Scotty top 5 is minus 175. Normally I'd scrounge at this number or cringe or whatever the term is now, but he's playing in an event that's 50 instead of 100. So I think that's a really good number for him. I think his ball striking was phenomenal. I have Rory top 10 at minus 170. I think it's playable to top five if you really want to get there. The odds are not as great. I always get concerned when guys take off a long period of time that they're either going to play really well or just have a little bit of gap. But I think 10 is very safe. I have Tommy Fleetwood top 20 at minus 200. Like Liam talked about, he may not have the mentality I think he does going into it, but 20 is it's beating what 60%, 40% of the field, whatever it is.
60,
No, 60% of the field.
60,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
60% of the field. So I like that. I have Cam Young top 19. Yes, top 19 is minus 120. It's weird. His top 20 odds go to minus 160 by one
Well,
placement point. I do not understand why, but 19 in ties is minus 120 and 60 is minus 160, or 20 is minus 160. So I'm taking that. I have Taylor Pendrith top 20 is plus 110. I have JJ Spawn top 20 is minus 160. I'm also pairing that with JJ Spawn top 10 at plus 200. I think that with his putter, he was so close to winning by 6 shots the entire time that he can come out and steamroll. I also have Harry Hall top 20. And then maybe my favorite bet is Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, or Tommy Fleetwood to win is even money. And just to give you a point of reference, Scotty Scheffler is like 2.5 to 1, not
yeah,
even that much. So you're basically giving me a negative 1.5 basis points and adding four guys.
yeah.
In a 50%, I have 10% of the field to win is even money. It's pretty good.
No, that's probably my favorite bet of yours as well. I do not have 9 bets. I have 5. Next week is probably going to be even lighter for me in terms of bets too, because there'll be less golfers. But I have all 5 of mine are matchups. Well, to an extent. The first ones are Akshay Bhatia over Robert McIntyre and Brian Harman at plus 160. I then have Hideki Matsuyama over Sung Jae Im and Siwoo Kim at plus 140. I have Ricky Fowler over Jason Day at minus 120. I have Akshay Bhatia over Siwoo Kim at minus 120. And then I have Kurt Kitayama over Maverick McNeely at minus 110. So those are the 5, nothing fancy, but I think all 5 of those have a chance to hit this week. So, wild card, what you got this week?
Well, I really wanted to do JJ Spawn, but that would be a lot of JJ Spawn everywhere. So what I'm doing is Cam Young top 5 plus 475. Now, we've talked about for a long time Cam Young needed a dominant performance, and he had a really good one finishing 5th at the FedEx St. Jude, which is last week, starting off horrifically. 3 solid rounds after that. He looked like a monster, especially off the tee, which led to the approach play. I think if he has that, even 50% of what he had, he is still in the top like 5 driving measurements for his entire year. So I think if he can do that and has the approach play that he does, which he is a pure ball striker, he will give himself a lot of birdie opportunities, which is what I'm really banking on. A lot of the guys in this field are really good, but then you get to an event like a Rocket Mortgage Classic where it's going to 24 under, 25 under, and they're finishing 64th because they're at 9 under because they're playing solid golf but not great. Now, Cam Young obviously historically has really done well at PGA, US Open because they're really low, but I think this year we've seen him surpassing that and kind of beat those expectations. I think the Wyndham in last week really solved it. So I think for me, if he has that same week, top 5 is not out of the realm, and it's top 10. That's 10% of the field right there. So
Yeah.
I really like that.
No, I don't think it's that crazy of a play, honestly. If you didn't have Cam Young in there, I probably would have thrown him in top 5 or top 10. So I think his top 10 was like plus 170. So I don't know if he even could have gotten to that. But yeah, top 5, totally fair. For me, my wild card is Kurt Kitayama, top 10 at plus 260. Again, I said that he could play spoiler these next 2 weeks. So nothing quite like a top 10 pick at plus 250, plus 260 to help you out on that one. So that's my wild card. Winners, what you got?
I have a 3, and the first one is interesting. I wanted to bet Scotty Scheffler, but if he wins, it's not profitable. So I have Scotty Scheffler to win by 2 or more at plus 320. Scotty Scheffler, a lot of his wins have been by dominance. I think this week, if he has an opportunity to win, the ball striking has been there for him. So I think at plus 320, that's a really reasonable number. I mean, if you really think about it, it's either he wins by 1 at his normal number, or one or more, where it wins by two or more. And I'm taking the two or more to make it more profitable. I have second in the field Rory, which is 8-1 plus 800. And then I have Tommy Fleetwood 22-1. If you're sensing a trend, that's top three in scoring average, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm taking. That's what I'm rolling.
Yeah, Jack also took three guys that all have better odds than my best guy. For my winners picks, I took three longer shots. Again, if you really want to pick a true winner, I think Jack's options of Scotty, Rory, Tommy are probably the right plays. But my winners picks are Cam Young at 24-1, Kurt Kitayama at 45-1, and then Ricky Fowler at 60-1, where if he wins, he does make it into the top 30. So he will be fighting for that this week. So I think that is a high priority thing for him to do. With that, that is the BMW. All we have left next week is the Tour Championship. One thing to highlight, just a funny thing. This was like a 45-minute episode. Jack laughed at me before we started. He said, "There's not a shot in hell. This is more than a 30-minute episode," and we blew right by 30 minutes. A long
I might
time.
have talked a little bit.
Yeah, you were a little chatty today, but it's all right. You got excited about golf. I that doesn't surprise me at all, knowing you. So with that, we will leave you all to it. Hopefully, you guys follow along with our bets and our winners, and we will see you next week for the Tour Championship. Doses.